What we've been seeing is stores, retailers are doing everything they can to prevent and deter retail theft. And so in this case, they've taken the step of asking individuals coming into the store to show their ID, to be escorted as they're shopping, and to really do this as a way to deter people from coming in and ensure that law-abiding citizens have a safe retail shopping experience. This is more of a family-owned, independent retailer who's making the decision to do this. I think some of our big national brands take a different approach. They may invest more in cameras, in private security guards, off-duty police officers, those types of things. So I think every store approaches it differently. It's an interesting experiment to see how long you can maintain that for two reasons. Number one is you're paying people, right? You can only have as many people in the store as you have people willing to walk around with them in that store. So that's the first thing. But I think the second thing is I like going to the store. I like shopping. Do I necessarily want someone right next to me watching me the whole time while I'm shopping? Probably not. It makes it a little weird, takes a little bit away from that experience. It is costly, and it's costly not only to having that extra employees there to do it, but also is not going to have an impact on the number of folks wanting to come in and shop at that store. You can look at the data. And I think some of the data says it's actually gotten better. I would say, you've also seen a lot of stores close. So that impacts the data when you no longer have those retailers in San Francisco. And I think that's a really telling statistic to look at. I would tell officials in San Francisco 2-3 years ago, if we didn't do something and do something drastic, you were going to see stores leaving. And they didn't believe me. Unfortunately, now we've seen that happening. We're seeing stores leaving San Francisco. That's going to take years to get those stores back and those brands back. But I do think that there are things that are happening that I am hopeful will turn the corner. I think our biggest challenge is repeat offenders. We know people are coming into the stores and stealing multiple times a day. The other issues we cannot aggregate up to that $950 threshold. And those are the conversations that we're having in Sacramento. When you're out shopping and you see maybe someone selling something on the street, or you're maybe on an online platform and you see something that you're like, wow, that's a really, really great deal. A lot of times that's a steal. Well, guess what? It probably is. It's probably stolen. So I think consumers need to be mindful of when they shop to make sure they're shopping from verified online vendors, going to sites that the online marketplace is taking the time to make sure that the items being sold in that marketplace is actually legitimate items. There's a lot of legitimate sellers on the online marketplace, so we want to continue to make sure they can be successful. People see retail theft happening on a daily basis. Everywhere you go, you're seeing more and more products being locked up. If you see something happening, be a good witness. Don't engage, though. Number one thing, don't engage. It's not worth it. But be an active witness if you do see something happening, so that you can turn that information over to the store manager, to loss prevention, or to law enforcement. When I talk particularly to small retailers, maybe they're a convenience store owner in the community, they are hit almost every single day. Same is happening to our national brands. I was just at a retailer over the weekend with my 15-year-old daughter, and she was looking for some sporting equipment for a sport she's in, and they had boxing gloves. And I noticed that someone just took the gloves, left the container there, took the gloves. They had a case of Twisted Tea sitting there. People just took them, opened up the box, and took it out of the box. So it's happening constantly. The minute you go in and you start smashing and destroying property and putting fear in someone as they're sitting in a store, that's a felony. And so those are things that we are also encouraging district attorneys up and down the state of California to prosecute more, so that we can deter that from happening. But really, we see this, it's death by a million cuts. It happens all the time. That's why you see more and more stores locking up underwear, locking up toothpaste, locking up socks, because these are things that are being stolen on a daily basis. People will say they'll go in, they'll restock the socks in a store, and by the end of that shift, those socks are all gone, because people are coming in and just walking out and not paying for items and stealing because they think that they can, and they think there will not be a consequence. And that's why what we're trying to do with the governor and with the legislature is bring back those consequences so these repeat offenders can no longer get away with this criminal behavior.
There are a lot of different opinions about Prop 47. 2 years ago, we made a documentary called California Crime Wave, and we analyzed and dug into all the laws that could have an impact on crime in California. You can get this documentary. It's now available for free on the link below in the comments. You can click on the link below in the comments and watch this documentary. Now let's go back to the opinion.
San Francisco, was a worldwide mecca for shopping. People love to go to San Francisco for retail shopping. It was home to iconic brands and iconic stores. And I think there's a way to get back there, but it's going to take some time for us to change the laws in the state of California, to change the narrative in California, and make sure that these criminals understand there will be consequences for their behavior. Our goal is not to throw everyone in jail, right? We understand that there are people with underlying conditions, be it drug addiction, alcohol addiction, mental health. These are individuals that we want to be part of that process to make sure that they can get the help that they need so that they can make better life choices. But then we know the people who are the repeat offenders who are constantly coming into the stores, who we can build cases that we then can give to the district attorney to get those prosecutions happening. So that's really what they're looking at. So sometimes you might see someone coming in and you might not see them being stopped all the time. They know who these people are. They know how they're building cases. And there's a lot of things going on in a store that typical consumers don't see. Because again, our goal is to make sure that that consumer is having a safe and productive shopping experience. I will say it's very early in the legislative session. We just had bill introduction last week. And so we're still kind of pensing through all of these different pieces of legislation. But I will say when you look at what the Assembly put out a few weeks ago around bringing back a felony wobbler that will hold repeat offenders accountable, bringing clarity to the ability to aggregate up to that $950 threshold, looking at ways that retailers and law enforcement can put cases together against not only the people stealing, but the boosters and the fencers, people who are then taking those stolen goods and selling it maybe on the street, on an online marketplace, at a flea market or swap meet, making sure all the folks that are committing these crimes are going to be held accountable. I think as we start looking at this package as a whole, I think it really is going to be a game changer for retail theft in California.